Welcome in, everybody. This is the debut episode here at Final Judgment. I'm your host, Tony Cutillo, and joining me for the first debut episode is Miss Alexa Ross. Alexa, how are you?
I am great, and it's even better knowing that this is the debut episode. We got to keep the energy up, and there's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about.
Oh, my God. Listen, football, even though football is ending and everybody's supposed to just gravitate towards the NBA, who knows if we're going to have a baseball season, and hockey, it is what it is, especially in Philadelphia. Nobody's really, and we're going to get to the Flyer Nation thing in a minute, but listen, football is a 24/7 operation, right? It just never ends. We get by the Super Bowl. LA Rams, right away, I was an LA Rams guy right from the very beginning. And just so everybody knows, first of all, I didn't give her just due. This is Alexa Ross. Again, she's Philly made, okay? Temple made, has some Philly roots, transitioned to Rochester, New York, covered the Buffalo Bills. Now she's in Indianapolis. She covers the Indianapolis Colts. She covers the Indiana Pacers for CBS4 and Fox 59. But she's also a host of Flyers Nation. So she gets that Philly roots, and nice segment with Cam Atkinson the other day. I know it's hard to be talking hockey when they're so bad right now, right?
Cam is a cool dude, and I didn't even touch hockey, and I'm glad I didn't have to. I mean, I touched like his transition and everything because it's hard to kind of just like walk in a room. And I think the most like hockey we actually talked was like, oh, how do you kind of come in and not know who your coach is and then get used to him and then he's gone. So, like, that's kind of where we went with that. But, like, we did not touch on how bad that team is. Like, we did not even, I was more focused on, like, him being here and how he feels. Because I think that, like, a lot of people have gravitated towards him just because he's, like, A, a really fun guy, and B, he's really good at what he does. And I think he's, like, a bright spot in a very bleak Wells Fargo
is putting
center.
It mildly right now, right? But now you're right. He's a really cool individual. He really is.
He's a cool dude. He's a super nice guy.
People in Philly, they gravitate towards cool people, right? So, come on, me and you were from Philly, so why wouldn't they gravitate towards us as well? But listen, just so everybody knows, real fast, the reason why this show is about is because everybody knows that I do a show every Tuesday. I talk the local scene in Philly, but I wanted something a little different, right? So as everybody's gravitating towards sports betting and fantasy sports, and I want to bring a national perspective in, people that are credible to cover other teams, to give you what are other people thinking outside the organization. We don't see. I don't see. Listen, I love Tyrese Halliburton, right? But I don't see him play every day. Now he's an Indiana Pacer, so Carson Wentz. We know he went, and we're going to get to that. He went from Philly, go to Indianapolis, but we don't actually know what's going on, and that information could help you, whether you're writing articles, whether you're talking on sports radio, or even maybe you're putting in some bets and having some fun with that. So, Alexa, let's just talk straight up about the Super Bowl real fast. I want to touch on, because obviously it's still a topic. The LA Rams, I love. We're not going to talk about the Matt Stafford, walking away from the poor camera girl who falls down and fractures her spine, which is absolutely insane.
Wait, officially, she officially fractured her spine? Oh my God, Matthew.
Yeah. So I was following it today. So she went to the ER. She officially fractured her spine. They actually have a GoFundMe page for her right now for all her equipment that was busted. Like it's crazy. I just can't believe you just walked away so nonchalantly like that. But
I gotta say, Joe Burrow would never. Joe
B. No.
Joey B would have picked her up and like given her a hug and been like, "It's okay, sister. Let's get you some help."
Yes.
Because I mean, you say you were a Rams guy from the beginning, and like I kind of was in the camp of like, I hope both teams have fun. Matt Stafford and all of the guys on those on the Rams. What a great story for all of them. Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald and all these guys who might be ending their, and then the other side of like ending their careers possibly. But I have been like really high on the Bengals since they drafted Jamar Chase. I've liked Joe Burrow, the iconic picture of him smoking a cigar in the locker room after the national championship. When everyone was like, "Oh yeah, this guy has swag," and then he had swag, and then he got hurt, and now he has his national championship winning wide receiver. So clearly, if they didn't make that pick, I think Cincinnati would have burned to the ground. And I'm glad that they didn't, and I'm glad that they were able to do what they did, and have the season that they did. And I think that, it's a team with a lot of young talent. And because of that, I think they will be back. I think they're too talented to not, especially, but I mean, as we know, the AFC is like The NFC, whatever. The AFC is where the competition is. That's where it's all at. So hopefully, depending on how teams kind of rise and fall, it was a really good game up until, the end where questionable calls were made and other calls were missed. And, it was like they let the boys play. And then there was like a 2-minute span where more whistles were thrown than in like the entirety of championship weekend. So, you always hate to see any kind of game decided on that. Like, it doesn't matter what or when or what level or how, but I'm happy. I'm glad LA got theirs, whatever. I'm excited for Cincinnati. I think, I don't know if you've seen the video of Joe Burrow introducing himself to everybody who played for the Rams. He's like, hey, I'm Joe. Hey, I'm Joe. And I was like,
he's very likable.
He's so happy to be there.
Yeah.
Like, he was so happy to be there. So I think that, kind of like as they kind of reevaluate and kind of see what went wrong, it's definitely better than the last time the Rams played in the Super Bowl, which was objectively the worst Super Bowl of all time, followed by the best Super Bowl of all time, not just for our biased reasons, but because it was actually a lot of fun to watch for most people, because it was high scoring and people had a good time. But,
yes. Because that last quarter was weird. The last quarter was weird in that Super Bowl. Really, really weird.
It was weird, and now my eyes, at least, are on the offseason and everything that happens with the league new year begins on either the 15th or the 16th.
And that's where it's going to get interesting. And again, shout out OBJ. It sucks.
I know
for him in that game, right? And
I'm so glad he caught a touchdown. I'm so glad he did something. Not that like you don't contribute if you're not playing, but like the fact that he, had his back turned on him by Cleveland, was able to come in, catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and then end up winning that ring. I can imagine how hard it is to take, get tagged out and have to be like, dude, you gotta sit.
It was killing him. He's walking, he's patrolling the sidelines. You could see. And then when that offense wasn't clicking, it was just killing him. He wanted to be out there so bad. So shout out to OBJ. I'm glad when we see narratives like that. Von Miller, who had every opportunity to almost be the MVP of that game because he was that good towards the end. But like you said, the cool part is Cincinnati is going to be around for a long time. I picked the Rams in the beginning of the year, and for personal bias, because I have a man crush on Sean McVay. I've never been afraid to say it. I love that.
He's cute. He's real cute.
Exactly. I'm very comfortable with myself. I can say it. And not just that. I mean, he's a 33-year-old head coach. He's been in the league for 3 years now at 36.
Stud.
Right. And now he's got a ring. Like, he's an offensive mastermind, in my opinion. So I was glad to see that go. But you said, we're getting ready for the new season. And again, you cover, we're going to get to some Philly stuff, but you cover the Indianapolis Colts. And again, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, is Carson going to get traded? Where's he going to go? Listen, we're going to see, we're going to hear that nauseum over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But let me just ask you a general question. And that is because we know how hard it was to get him out of here. And we were happy to be rid of the Carson Wentz experiment, I'll call it, right? But do you think the Colts regret right now? Is there like a buyer's remorse? Do you think they regret this Carson Wentz trade? You watched them all year, so you would know.
I think the only person who really regrets it right now is Jim Irsay, and that's because he is a hothead. I mean, he's still as mad right now as he was as they got off the plane after that Jacksonville game. I mean, that was... when you're in two winning in situations and you lose both of them, one of them's at home, one by a field goal, and something we were talking about off camera, 5 of their losses came 7 points or less. So like, that's frustrating in and of itself, but it obviously always doesn't equate to quarterback play. Like, your game is not like, I am the biggest proponent of quarterback stats aren't wins, and wins aren't a quarterback stat. Like, the two, yes, there's so much more than just him. And he went 27-7 this year, which is wildly like worlds better than what he was in this last season in Philly.
Not a bad year.
Yeah, I mean, he showed there were throws that were like, flashes of 2017 pre-injury Carson too. Like, there were things that I saw and I was like, oh, like, it's in there. It's in there, and Frank Reich can bring it out. But Jim Irsay's pissed, and Jim Irsay's been pissed. And
Yep.
I don't know how many of you guys have watched Hard Knocks, but like the biggest thing after that loss was that Jim Irsay, like middle of the night, called Chris Ballard and Frank Reich and had like an overnight long conversation with them about like what's got to give, what's got to go, what's got to change, because a lot of stuff has to change. And like, yeah, he's right. A lot of stuff has to change. I don't think that's going to come at the expense of a coach. I don't think they get rid of Frank.
I don't think so either. I
People
agree.
are like calling for his job, and I'm like, there's absolutely no reason for that. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, if they fire Frank Reich, they're just trying to blow. Like, if that was a call that was made, it would be a call in anger and stuff like that. Obviously, things have to start moving because I believe it's March 18th. It's either March 18th or March 19th. It's after that 3-day window after the league new year.
Yep.
Carson's $15 million becomes 22 guaranteed.
Oof.
If he gets moved, it will happen by then. But then the big question is, but who? Like who do you get? Because a $15 million cap hit isn't something that like that's not going to help you get the quarterback that you want to be the guy.
It's Howie Roseman. Right? We just went through it. But yeah, you're exactly right.
The last 2 years, or before getting Carson, it was Tom Brady had interest and went to Tampa Bay. They win a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford was between here and LA, and he went to LA, and they won a Super Bowl. Guess what? The Colts only have 2 position groups better than both of those teams during their Super Bowl years, which were running back and linebacker. And that's it. Because Jonathan Taylor is the future of this franchise. Like, he's not going anywhere. Everyone's obsessed with him, and rightfully so. He's truly the nicest person I've ever covered. And that's saying a lot because I've covered Josh Allen. But, like, he's also so very good at what he does and is so nose to the grindstone. Their offensive line also doesn't help that they're so expensive. Like, you can't just, like, go and, like, make a run for an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson, because that's just, you can't pay. Like, how are you going to pay the guy? Like, even if you write your take out your little checkbook and you write your check, like, it doesn't matter because it still goes against a cap. And like, you and I know that's not how it works. Like, if an owner could just write a cash check right there, like but that's not how it works. That's not the game we're playing. And
it's tough.
It's hard.
There's a lot of obstacles. I mean, listen, Drew Brees for years was hamstrung, or the New Orleans Saints were hamstrung by Drew Brees' contract, right? Tom Brady was actually, he gave a discount basically, for all those years he was in New England. People forget about that. Aaron Rodgers is going to command some major loot, some major cash. So you're right. You have to be able to draft well, right? That's the way it's got to work.
And they don't have their first round pick because Carson played more than 75% of snaps, which I was jokingly like the snap counter for Philly because I'm from Philly and I have a lot of Philly followers. So I was like, okay, well, of all of the snaps that have been played so far, he's officially played 76. So long as he keeps playing, the pick is all but official.
We were all over that counter too. All over.
Dude, it's I had to. It's fine. But because of that, you lose your first round pick. Which doesn't help you, especially when the quarterback class is so
weak.
I wasn't going to say weak, but you said it for me. Yeah. It's very underwhelming. It's underwhelming. These are not the guys that are going to be like, it's not the same class as like Josh Allen's class. Like, it's like, we're not doing that again. Like, we're not going to have those kinds of classes again, not for a little bit anyway. Probably not until Arch Manning gets drafted, which is crazy to say.
Think about that, right?
Yeah, like that's crazy. Like because now it looks like everybody's quarterbacks are kind of like all over the place in age. So it doesn't look like we're kind of going to be ushering in, another generation of quarterbacks for quite some time. And like these young guys are doing their things. And I think the only one who's not is Kyler Murray. And I think that Kyler Murray might be the only discount, like, your little discount double check that you can grab. But they've proven that they don't need like the little running quarterback because they have JT. Like all of your running needs are taken care of by Jonathan Taylor, who is a little bit taller and a little bit heavier and can like move through people like I've never seen. He's the yards after contact king. Whereas you can't get that same thing from Kyler. And yeah, Kyler can throw, but like he needs elite receivers. Guess what the Colts don't have? Elite receivers. There's a lot of other stuff that needs to be changed. And I think that if they don't make a big move, if they don't make a move for Carson, they're going to make a big move for a big name receiver because that's what this offense needs. Like
I think so. I agree with you. Definitely.
I think the pieces are there. They just like whether people like it or not, Carson Wentz had a great year this year. And he completely fell apart along with the rest of the team in the last 2 games of the season. It's not his fault that Trevor Lawrence looked like Peyton Manning out there. He was not on the field during the same time Trevor Lawrence is out there. Like there is a lot of other stuff that happened and went wildly, wildly, wildly wrong. For those games to be that
listen,
close.
on top of that, you make a great point because you talk about, it wasn't Carson's fault that the defense gave up. I mean, we in Philadelphia, listen, you can say whatever you want about, Mr. Five will always love you, but McNabb left the field with the lead against Arizona. Always remember that. He left the field with the lead. So I'm just going to throw it out there the last time they lost the NFC Championship. So, but you mentioned Jonathan Taylor, yeah. and again, I love JT. I really do.
He's so
I love
good.
JT. Yeah, he is. He's like you said, man. He's like that Maurice Jones-Drew, but taller. He's got the build of Maurice Jones-Drew, but he's got the drive. I mean, it's like Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I'm not afraid to say that. So speaking of that, the reason why I bring that up, Tennessee. Obviously AFC South, Ryan Tannehill, who didn't have the great year that I predicted that he would have, but still, he's not a great quarterback, but he was a serviceable quarterback. So almost like what's going on in Indianapolis, right? So, a lot of those numbers, in my opinion, for Carson Wentz, see if you agree, were lower because they ran so much with Jonathan Taylor. Now, you could take that and say that's because they didn't trust Carson Wentz or, because it did definitely see like Frank Reich slowly but surely every game took less and less attempts away from Carson. But I don't know if that was just because they didn't like Carson. I think it's because JT was that good and he was balling out that well.
And he is that good. I mean, he is all of that. He really is the definition of like all that in a bag of chips. Like he really, really is. And I think that when you look at him,
that expression.
Yeah, right. It's a good expression. But the thing about and the conversation between Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor that kind of happened when Derrick Henry got hurt is like Derrick Henry's numbers were that much higher because he had that many more carries. And when those carry numbers became the same, Jonathan Taylor's yards were far and away longer. Like he is, and I am going on the record right now as saying that if you are between Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Jonathan Taylor with your overall pick, I take Derrick Henry out of that conversation.
Ooh.
Take him out. He's proved that he doesn't get hurt like that. Like, let's just start right there. We haven't had knock on whatever. Knock on whatever. But you don't have a guy who has that history, that injury history. I loved Christian McCaffrey. I took him first overall, got super pissed off. And then I was like, damn, I should have taken Derrick Henry. Guess what? Derrick Henry got hurt too. And I was like, I guess I picked right. Like, it was one of those things where I was just like, our guy.
Listen, I'm with you. What
are you going to do? Like, so for me as an avid fantasy player, and first time I haven't made the playoffs in fantasy in my life was this year. I'm rolling with JT next time.
Wow, listen to you, first time in your life. I'm going to have to get you as a guest on Sirius. What's going on there? First time.
I am a 7 year. This is the first year I played in 3 leagues and I made none of them. None of them.
This was a weird year though.
Like defending champ in this league, and I did not sniff playoffs. Like it was bad. It was really
I love
bad.
this. I love
it. It was really bad, but but be damned if you do, damned if you don't when you're drafting though. So like,
well, here's what's funny, and I'm not saying this because this is Alexa Ross who covers the Colts, and we're talking about JT, but I'm telling you, like I was fixated the entire offseason, said do not draft Christian McCaffrey. I was like, you cannot take C-Mac. He's fragile. I can't trust him. And Derrick Henry for me, depending on a fantasy league, if you're in a PPR league, Derrick Henry was like, wait a minute, I want a guy who's going to catch the ball. So I was on a Dalvin Cook train, but my third
Yeah.
guy was Jonathan Taylor. I said, Jonathan Taylor's going to be a top 3 back this year. And, just because he's a bell cow back and they use him so much.
Yeah. And I think too, that when you look at the way he is used, like they'll have offensive linemen throw him over the goal line, but they'll have him, like they'll screen him, like he will catch and he can catch and he's proven that he can catch. So I don't know, keep your eye out on him. I mean, my other I don't even want to call this that hot of a take because it's not really that hot of a take, but if the Colts make the playoffs, he's offensive player of the year.
I like that. No, I like that.
Like
I like that a lot.
They make the playoffs, he's in the MVP conversation. Like he's still in the MVP conversation, but like they didn't. And guess what?
That's the only reason, right? I think if they make the playoffs and close out the season the way they should have, he's 100% in the MVP conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, he was that good. He was that good.
It's easy. And it's fun to watch him play football, man. Like
it is.
It's been a long time since I've had that much fun watching a running back. And like, I came from Buffalo, who has Josh, who is like a running back in and of himself, but it's like,
not the same.
Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are like, they were not it. And like, I didn't have that serious love. It's like the last time I loved a running back like that and watching a running back like that was Shady.
I was going to say, you got to go back to Shady and B West.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I know I'm older than you, so I'm B West. So my B West is probably your Shady. So, but
yeah,
we had some tremendous running backs. Absolutely.
So it's, so to kind of see that, I think he's going to be here for a long time. He's going to be here to stay. The Colts have proven year after year after year after year that they care so much about their offensive line and how much money they pump into that. So just keep an eye on that. And I rule out nothing with the Carson stuff. I mean, because, there are 3 options. You hold on to him and you kind of wait till you can clear cap and figure things out otherwise. And you say, it was just 1 year. Let's do it again. Let's run it back. You cut him. You eat $15 million.
That's not
no matter what.
That's not
or you trade him when you have absolutely no leverage to do so. Because what do you have? Nothing.
It's true.
They don't have picks to give up. They certainly do not have picks to give up. Like
no, you're right. You're kind of in a foregone conclusion that Carson Wentz is probably going to be your starting quarterback. Now here's the thing.
I don't even say that though. Like if they get rid of him, I mean, Jim Irsay could be so petty as to just cut him and eat $15 million. But like, where does that leave you? So I'm of the ilk of like, whatever happens, happens. Like I think that, a lot of people are like, there's no way he's here next year. There's no way he's here next year. I'm like, okay, that's fine. If he's not here next year, then so be it. But then you got to really take into consideration how you play your free agents, how you re-sign contracts, how you restructure guys, because Darius Leonard just got paid. Like,
big time.
You cannot take money out of that contract. Like there are contracts that you can't touch.
Yep.
And like there's money that you can't move around. So you have to be really, really financially smart. And this is my first full offseason with the Colts. So I don't know how they are with moving money in that way. So I don't want to be the one to say like, oh yeah, for sure. They're not going to care about $15 million. But if they don't, they got to be really, really smart about how they make it up.
I know a lot of people, were skeptical when Ballard gave Leonard that big deal. I mean, $20 million average a year for a middle linebacker was like crazy, but come on, man, 122 tackles this year, 7 forced fumbles, 4 picks. The kid was playing out of his mind.
The maniac.
So, right?
And he is.
And he absolutely is.
He deserves every penny of it. And I think that like you can't discount that, but it's like there are other places where things are kind of lapsing.
So let me ask you this before we move on to a quick little couple Eagles questions. But you mentioned you're the reigning supreme of fantasy football. So because we talked about JT, so you're going. Alexa Ross is on the clock right now. You have the number 1 overall pick in fantasy next year. Who's your pick?
I'm taking Jonathan Taylor. I already said it. I'm rolling with it. If like here's my like top 5, like, depending on where I draft. Because I assume that Derrick Henry will be taken in the top 2. I don't know how people are going to look at Christian McCaffrey when we decide that we're going to start drafting over the summer. Like if we're drafting tomorrow, like we draft tomorrow and people are still like, but CMC can do it. Yeah. And like, those are your top 2. if I'm picking third, I'm taking Jonathan Taylor over Dalvin Cook. Like I am. And I think a lot of people are going to start having the mental gymnastics of like trying to pick between the two. And I think it will also depend on schedules, obviously. Like we don't know what schedules look like. We know who opponents are, but we don't know where people are playing yet or when people are playing where. So like I'm interested to see. I love to draft around a bye week also. So like I really got to be like, I will never draft unless it's like my top guy. I will never draft another person with that bye week. Like I am so, I mean, like on my bench, yeah, but like in my, like I'm very, very, I pay really close attention to bye weeks, and it's helped me be really, really lucky to kind of make up for points as my top guys have to clock out for, to take their breaks.
I'm the complete opposite. I have complete disregard for bye weeks.
I care really way too much about bye weeks, but hey, maybe that's why I win. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? You're right, because I haven't won in 3 years. You know what I mean? So it's all good. If I was like, I got to switch to DFS just so I know I get a chance to win every week. But but nah, I agree with you. I think Jonathan Taylor, he's definitely my number one overall pick. But we just got from one quarterback situation to another, and right now we got to talk about the Jalen Hurts thing. And the only reason why is because I am very curious, because I know what our perspective is within Philly. Even though you cover the Colts, you also have Philly roots. So I know you pay attention, and you're obviously very intelligent when it comes to football. Jalen Hurts, is he the guy in Philly? Is it, he'll never be what we want him to be? Will he be serviceable enough? Do they make this big move for a Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers? What do you think happens the quarterback situation in Philly?
God, I can't even imagine them getting Aaron Rodgers. Like that's like so far out that like I cannot even like imagine him wearing a different shade of green and walking onto another NFC field. Like I really can't. Like Wilson, I see that a lot more. Like that seems a lot more reasonable to me. I want him to be the guy. I really do. Like I want to see the kid succeed. I think that he has the tools to do so. I think that he's young and he's proven that he's really young and really doesn't know what's going on. I think this is the year. This is his make or break year though. If he can't deliver, he's done. Like he's absolutely done. And I think that they really mortgaged a lot off of, getting rid of Doug. And now Doug has his dream situation with Trevor Lawrence. Like he's back to exactly where he wants to be with a really, really, really talented, big, young quarterback. And like, yeah, do I think the Jags are still going to be absolute trash? Absolutely. Do I think that Trevor Lawrence makes leaps and bounds? For sure. But like, you don't just get rid of your Super Bowl winning head coach and the quarterback that essentially like led you there, but couldn't play, to then get this guy in the second round and then give up on him, man. Like, and if that's the case, then we need to start talking front office stuff, because I'm of the ilk of that Howie Roseman needed to go 3 years ago. Like he needed to be gone when he blew up the Super Bowl team. Like that's it. That's in my mind, he's got to be done. And I think, and like Jalen Hurts not being ready is a direct result of him, not a direct result of Jalen Hurts. Because I would have loved to see Jalen Hurts with Doug Peterson. I would have loved to see.
I'm not a Doug guy, so it's hard for me. I'm not a Doug guy. I honestly, listen. Here's what I keep saying to everybody, and I don't know if you're going to agree or not, but he got the job in Jacksonville only because Byron Leftwich pulled out. He got the job in Philly only because Tom Coughlin pulled out. So, he interviews and then he goes away. And then he's like the fallback guy. And that's what I never understood. So it's almost like he's not blowing anybody away. And I understood he won a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl because he had a hell of a coaching staff. He really did. I mean,
he had a great coaching staff, and he had, they really captured lightning in a bottle. They really did. But I do think that success could have been not like Super Bowl level sustained, but I think that you at least like do enough, God forbid you do enough.
Right. Right. I mean, I'm not going to completely disregard him as a head coach, but I don't see a love affair with Doug P. I still don't see it. I don't.
I mean, I still love Andy. So like, I'm still like, I still like love this man in my heart. So like, I'm still, I like to see former guys succeed. Like I like seeing Andy Reid go, I'm glad he got his ring, Doug is absolutely not taking the Jaguars to get a ring. Like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. The franchise is like too far gone. But I do think that he develops Trevor Lawrence into what everyone expects him to be. Like, I think that he becomes that guy. Like, everyone expected him to be that guy, and then he went to Jacksonville, and then everyone was like, "Ooh, Jacksonville, tough." And then your coach gets fired. So, like, I know they're not trying to play games and they're not playing games, and I understand that, but like the Eagles Super Bowl win to AFC South pipeline is very, very strong. And like, we do have Frank Reich, Jim Schwartz, and Doug Peterson all coaching in the AFC South now.
Crazy.
Which is nutty. And I'm super excited about it.
What is
I love it. I'm in. I am all in on that. Like, I couldn't be more in. But what I'm saying is, like, I think that you can't chance a guy, especially when you also have a new coach, on like a year with his also new quarterback. Like, I think I want to give him the grace of another year of like, hey, if you don't hit the ground running, because I think he cares. I think he really cares. You can tell that he wants it. It's just a matter of execution.
He's in the perfect spot. He's in the perfect spot. He really is.
And listen, we all thought when Nick Sirianni was talking about the flowers and watering the flowers and the fertilizer and planting and shit, we were all like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? But like, they made it to the playoffs.
I know.
They lost in the playoffs, but they made it to the playoffs. So I don't know, man. Like, we all really counted out Nick Sirianni so quick, and then he turned it around so quick. So I'm interested to kind of see what this season is. I do think that he can be. I think that the two of them need a really, really strong training camp and offseason together.
Yeah.
Of getting it done. Because he has Devontae too. Like, you don't go out and get it's the same thing with Joey B and Jamar. You don't get your national championship winning duo.
Yep.
If you don't think that they can play together. And they've shown when they connect that they connect.
I want to say I'm with you. I listen. He's controllable. He's young. He faces adversity very well everywhere he's at. He's a leader in the locker room. He's going to give you 110%. Listen, we had a guy in this town named Allen Iverson that left everything on the court. This is what Jalen Hurts does. He's and when people fall, he tries to pick them up. Not like Matt Stafford, but anyway, you know what I mean.
That video was nuts. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna die. Like, he's dead. They just killed Jalen Hurts.
It would have been typical Philly if somebody would have rolled his ankle. Like, it just would have been the freak incident that happens in Philadelphia. So, but now I want to give him one more year. He's controllable. Doesn't cost you anything. Rebuild the damn defense. That's what I keep saying. You got 3 picks. Rebuild the defense. Stockpile. Get them going. But I will say this: if the words are correct that now the price is dropped on Russell Wilson, and I can get Russell Wilson for a first and a third, I think I'd do that every day of the week. And I know the Eagles aren't close. I keep saying they're not close. So these veteran quarterbacks have to go to a team that are close. They can't wait 3 years, right? But I think with Russell, he's 33, but first and the third is very attainable for Russell Wilson, in my opinion.
It's very reasonable. It's a very reasonable that's a very reasonable decision to make, but you're right. They're not close. Like, he wants a ring and he's not going to get it here, but it does put Jalen in the position of being able to sit and watch and learn.
Yep.
And watching and learning, as we know, has done well by a lot of young people. Like, I think that, everybody was like, oh, it's Jordan Love's turn. It's Jordan Love's turn. It's still not Jordan Love's turn. But he's still watching, he's still waiting, even though Aaron Rodgers has been, pulling the same Brett Favre bullshit that he pulled on him. He's still able to watch, and he's still learning from a defending MVP.
So. He is, and it's ironic that the situation is almost the same, right?
The same.
How long did he sit behind Favre, right? And now it's the same ordeal. So it's just crazy. Listen, it's going to be one hell of an off season.
Oh, I can't wait.
I know it's exciting. It's exciting. It really
I
is. And
can't wait.
I can't wait when all those Carson Wentz news come in. I hit you up so we could talk about it. It's going to be really interesting. You're going to
Just
have
call
fun.
me. Just call me. I'll be ready. I'll be waiting for the call.
I love it.
My dad calls me every time anything about Carson Wentz comes up, and he's like, "What's the news on the ground?" I'm like, "Dad, like
I love.
literally." I was like, "Dad, we have a guy who's been covering the Colts since they were in Baltimore, and he doesn't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know." So it's been, but like talking to this guy, Mike Chappell, he's a genius, and he's been doing this for a really, really, really long time. He's a Hall of Fame voter. Like,
Nice.
he's the guy. He was like, yeah, like, is Carson gone? As of today, probably. This is earlier this week. But like Jim Irsay's not nearly as mad as he was when that plane landed. I think that, that man was kicking and screaming and ready to, go off. But as of right now, everything is kind of, he's looking more logically at the fact that the fact of the matter is there are two great quarterbacks who are going to be available. And one of those quarterbacks will be going to Tampa, like without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I'm surprised Aaron Rodgers isn't there right now. Like, I'm very surprised.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen. I definitely listen. I know he won MVP and he won back-to-back MVPs, but I've never seen a more disinterested quarterback in the playoffs than I've seen Aaron Rodgers that last game, right? So I think he's out. I do, right? Am I wrong? Like he looked like he could have cared less.
Also, like his MVP speech was like, "Thank you for the last 17 years," and that whole thing. Like, you don't say that if you're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, we don't. That's not how that works. Like, we don't just say bye casually.
We're banking on the guy who sends back the Christmas presents to his family and like second day airships on rack because he doesn't want to open them up. So he's a very interesting individual to say the least. So who knows what's on the mind of Aaron Rodgers? But this is what we're doing. End this in a fun segment because I appreciate your time and I appreciate you being here. I like to dive deep into the guests a little bit and just a couple fun questions because I'm a music guy, I'm a food guy, I love snacks. So
you got it.
Right. So we talked about the Super Bowl and everybody likes the snack. So I just want to have some fun with Alexa here. And what's your favorite game day food? You're sitting back, you're hanging with the family, you're watching the game, you're not working, you actually have all for once. Get to enjoy the game, right?
Ooh.
Right. You actually that's the joy of itself, right? Well, what are you surrounding yourself with that day?
Depends on what time. Okay. Depends on what time of the game. Depends on what time of day the game is for drinks. Because I'll be a mimosas up till kickoff girl if that game is at 1:00. Like, I'll be drinking champagne all morning long. Nice. Buffalo chicken dip is my thing. Like, living in Western New York and being in the home, they call it wing dip up there because why would you call it buffalo dip? Because the city's right there. I get it. But I've learned how to make a really, really, really good buffalo chicken dip since living up there. So like, that's my favorite. That's what I bring to every, event, every whatever that revolves around a game or anything like that. Like, that's my big thing is like, oh, I'm going to bring in my buffalo chicken dip, but definitely drinking a lot also. Like, I'm definitely drinking a lot. Because if I'm off and get to enjoy a game, then I'm going to enjoy the game.
Got to enjoy it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I personally, I love the 4:00 game. A lot of people don't like the 4:00 game, but
I love a 4:00 game. I love it.
They're my favorite. They're my favorite. I just gives me more time, right? Gives you more pregame time. Get stuff done.
My dad's been a season ticket holder for the Eagles since 1985, so I, at the age when I could go and going to school at Temple, I just take the Broad Street line down. And I just go tailgate and I'd go get drunk on a Sunday. Yep. And like, maybe I was going into the game and maybe I wasn't, but either way I was going down and, but like 4:00 games were great because it was just like, oh, I don't have to buy like a $12 beer inside the stadium because that it adds up. It gets so expensive. There's no reason for it.
No.
And I'm not an early person.
Park. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. I'm not a morning person either. Working at nights, like,
yep.
Like, I want to wake up on a game day at my time, not my dad's time, because my dad's like, I got to be the first person in lot K. Like, you don't, yeah. So, like, I can't be
I
doing
like
both.
it though. Nah, 4 o'clock games are key for me, 100%. But I have to ask you this too, because I'm a huge music head.
Mhm.
Different. I'm a '90s guy. I was always a '90s hip hop and R&B guy. So I loved the halftime show, but I love all different genres of music. My playlist is very unique. I mean, I could be listening to Ray Charles one day, and then Kid Rock the next day, and then U2, and then Ice-T, and then Wu-Tang. It just doesn't matter. So if we were to play a top 3 songs on your playlist right now, you whipped out your playlist, boom, top 3 songs, what would they be?
Believe by Cher has been like the number one on my playlist for like my entire life, and I wish I could tell you why. It's like my fallback song. It's my karaoke song. Like it's a song that just gets me so hyped to be alive. Believe by Cher, Sledgehammer
Nice.
by Peter Gabriel, which is
Peter Gabriel.
one of my favorite songs ever. You can like that's a song that like if I just want to like roll down the windows and vibe, like
Yep.
that's the song. I did it yesterday. Today it's raining, so I did not roll down the windows, but that's a great driving song for
Yes, I
me.
love that song. I remember that. I remember that video too. It was really with the
It's
boxy,
trippy.
right?
It's trippy. It's good though. It's really good. It's really good. It's really trippy. I definitely have showed that. I showed that video to my sister like for the first time once, and she was because my dad loves to play that song. She was like, "Whoa, what was that?" I was like, "A music video? What do you want me to say?" Um, and my third, it's so hard. I hate picking songs because I'm the same way as you. Like my music taste is literally all over. I'm gonna go Jolene by Dolly
Wow.
Parton.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Jolene.
I like that. I like. I see. I loved it. It's interesting because I remember I had Farzetta on, and I'm asking Farzi, and he's giving me these Italian songs. I'm like, Mark, I have no idea what that is. Like, but it's cool because it just shows. Listen, everybody's unique.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this. So everybody has their own style. But man, Peter Gabriel, I like that. I do.
And then if you go for like my number 4 though, it's gonna be like it's gonna be like Arctic Monkeys or like All Time Low or like either like a pop punk or like a really like more modern rock band. Like I have a weird music taste, but
That's
I like it.
okay.
It gets the
But
job
it's
done.
yours. That's what
But it's
it's
mine.
yours. Exactly. Exactly. But listen, I gotta end with this because the show is called The Final Judgment. So I need Alexa Ross's judgment on this. There's 3 quarterbacks. You have Carson Wentz. I'm gonna go 4. We got 4 quarterbacks. You have Carson Wentz, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Who gets moved first?
If moved at all,
If moved at all.
I think Russell Wilson gets moved first.
Love it. There you go. And the judgment is there. So, as always, I'm thanking everybody for tuning in. Again, I'm Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. You can follow me at Cutillo23. Alexa Ross, let everybody know where they can watch you, find you, what you got coming up. Doing the sports thing, let them know where they can get you.
It's almost March Madness. You're going to see a whole lot of Purdue content coming soon. Those Boilers are absolutely Final Four bound. I cover college hoops, so right now it's a whole lot of college hoops, and we're going to have a lot of NFL offseason stuff. The Pacers made some big moves, so you can catch me talking all about them at Alexa Ross TV on Twitter. I'm Alexa Ross 3_ on Instagram. I'm going to try and make a TikTok, but once it actually goes somewhere, I'll let y'all know. But I do post some of my stuff, so y'all can check it out there. But if you guys ever want to talk Carson, you ever want to talk college hoops, or you ever want to talk Tyrese Halliburton, the future of the Indiana Pacers, you know where to find me.
I love it. I love it. And Alexa, I will have to say, I'll end with this. And I sometimes I get a little, I talk a lot, but I could say as a Twitterverse is a very, very interesting space. Okay. You meet some people that are on highs, some people are on lows. You meet people that you probably didn't want to meet. Then you meet people that are welcome addition to your Twitterverse family. And I could say one thing. Follow Alexa. She's very, very forgiving. I wouldn't say forgiving, but I would say very inviting. She doesn't have to answer our DMs, and I'm sure she probably doesn't want to answer some of them because all the criticism that people send. But
I
at the
turned
end
him
of the
off.
day,
I turned him off for that reason. I was
right,
like, y'all have too much time and y'all have too much to say.
it's ridiculous. And I honestly just want to thank you for coming on. And I mean, go back 3 years just from you never had to answer my message. You never had to be on. You're very inviting with your content and your explanations and your opinions. So for me, for our audience, I thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I hope to have you on again very, very soon once that Carson Wentz news breaks. But that's right there. But as always, follow at Win Daily Sports, follow at Heat Ratio Sports. You get to Final Judgment. iHeart, iTunes, YouTube, WinDailySports.com, everywhere you can find your podcasts or shows. I'm signing off. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy. It's Final Judgment. We will catch you next time.